Hi peeps, this is Raven Quest with Project Truism. Today is December 2nd, 2018. I have a report titled Russia, Saudi Arabia celebrate Trump suiciding top U.S. Navy Admiral, ready to start World War III. An interesting Ministry of Foreign Affairs MOFA report circulating in the Kremlin today, noting the most significant events occurring at the 2018 G20 Buenos Aires summit, says President Putin and Saudi Arabian leader Mohammed bin Salman were both celebratory after receiving confirmation that President Trump had eliminated by suicide U.S. Navy Vice Admiral Scott A. Stearney. This is him right here. You can go to navy.mil and get a biography on him, if you like. So, who, as a commander of U.S. military forces in the Middle East, was single-handedly trying to provoke World War III by his ordering a massive bombing campaign that over the past few weeks has killed at least 206 civilians, including by his using international outlawed white phosphorous bombs, but whose reign of terror is now over after he was discovered just hours ago dead by a gunshot wound to his head at his home on the U.S. military U.S. military base in Bahrain, that caused Putin to personally thank Trump during an informal meeting, and U.S. National Security Advisor to the President, John Bolton, to approach Yuri Ushakov, assistant to the Russian president, and confirmed that the U.S. side would like to resume and normalize dialogue. That former Minister Lavrov replied to by stating, "We are ready for this as soon as our colleagues are." Here's a picture of them. Look at Trump watching him. Putin and Salman celebrating. Look like old friends, huh? They're celebrating the news of the deep state warmonger U.S. Navy Vice Admiral Scott Stearney being suicided. So this is a good thing. Although death is never a good thing. Sometimes those that cause all these deaths need to be suicided. According to this report, this year's G20 summit was one of the most consequential in modern history, that began within hours after the neo-Nazi government of Ukraine declared martial law, and ended with France in flames as revolution nears, and that now sees its socialist government preparing to declare a state of national emergency as rioters tear Paris apart. Marching headlong into this maelstrom, any part of which going wrong would quickly see the entire world embroiled in war, this report continues, was President Trump, whose main threat to his nation's constitutional system is said to be his catalyzing a hysterical opposition that has his opposition so freaked out that it's willing to throw overboard legal and constitutional niceties to thwart him. But at the start of the G20 summit, saw Trump taunting them with a tweet showing his deep state enemies behind bars for treason. Yeah, remember this tweet, guys? Now that Russia is a proven lie, when do the trials for treason begin? Yeah, I'd like to know that too. Anyway, let's see, where were we? And at its end, saw Trump's Vice President Mike Pence likewise sending out a taunting tweet showing him standing next to a highly armed U.S. police officer who is wearing a QAnon patch on his uniform, believed to be secret U.S. military intelligence operations working to present a coup against Trump. Let's see, where is that picture? I think this is it right here. Let's see. No, that's not it. This is the one about the airstrikes. This is what the suicided Navy Commander Stearney did. He killed everybody here. At least 206 civilians were killed in November this year by U.S.-led airstrikes on areas controlled by the Islamic State in eastern Syria, a war monitor reported Saturday. 77 children and 57 women were among those killed by the strikes on the last IS-held pocket in the eastern countryside of Deir al-Zour province, said the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights. So this Navy officer, this guy here, Stearney, Admiral Stearney, worked for the deep state, was working to start World War III. So that's a good thing that he's no longer with us. Here is Mike Pence as he delivers the Twitter post with BSO SWAT officers sporting a QAnon patch. Look at that, right there. That's cool. And President Trump tweets out, who will be imprisoned for treason at start of G20 summit? VP Pence follows with a tweet showing the police who will arrest them when G20 summit ends. So this is coming. I think it's going to be right around the 5th or the 6th of December. The most accurate description that can be given of what the G20 summit was all about, this report says, was it being a showdown between the world's nationalists and globalists. So if you're a patriot, you're a nationalist. If you're for the New World Order, you're a globalist. We don't want globalism. We want nationalism. With President Trump leading the nationalist forces, and who, among his other triumphs, forced China to make the deadly opioid drug fentanyl a controlled substance subject to death penalty laws. With the globalists being led by the German Chancellor Angela Merkel, who has declared that nation-states must today be prepared to give up their sovereignty. I don't think so. And whose former foreign minister has branded Trump's nationalist America as a rogue superpower, which it's not. He's just doing everything to take America back for the people. Nationalism, the definitions. Nationalism. We want to uphold certain values and ideals. If you don't agree with them, you should find a new country. Globalism. We want to impose our values on you. If you don't like it, you should find a new planet. Yeah, that's pretty much what's happening. They've been with their agendas killing people off for quite a long time. And this needs to stop. Most exposed at the G20 summit for the entire world to see as one of the main differences between nationalists and globalists, this report details, is a United States being led by nationalist President Trump and whose citizens remain relatively peaceful while they enjoy some of the lowest fuel prices they've seen in decades, record job growth, and record unemployment. That stands in direct opposition to a French nation being led by globalist President Macron, but whose citizens have turned their country's richest boulevards and most prominent landmarks into veritable war zones today because they've been forced to pay some of the highest fuel prices in the world due to global warming social engineering, aka climate change, and who say about Macron and his government's insane policies that are driving them into poverty. They talk about the end of the world while we are talking about the end of the month. Also being exposed at the G20 summit, this report continues, are the beyond hypocritical migrant policies these globalists are trying to force upon the world. Best exemplified by the globalist nation of Germany, having just started an ad campaign offering migrants cash to go home. Oh, you're here, so let's give you some money so you can go back home and leave us alone. Oh, yeah, that's great. While at the same, they're supporting a new law that will make criticism of migration a criminal offense. Really? Okay, that takes away your freedom of speech, freedom of thought. Okay, so here is the globalism versus nationalism. With globalism, we have mass migration. You have free trade, global superstate, believes all races and cultures should blend into a mono-race and monoculture. Versus nationalism, which opposes mass immigration and free trade. Well, that's not necessarily true. We don't oppose free trade. We oppose free trade that isn't fair. So, fair trade. Sovereign ethno-states for all people. Believes in maintaining uniqueness of individual races and cultures. The original meaning of nation, from the Latin nasci, nasci, implies racial homogeneity. With President Trump having left the G20 summit as the undisputed leader of Western nationalists, this report concludes his greatest blow against these globalists that must be acknowledged is that from their killing of President John F. Kennedy to their making of the fake Trump-Russian collusion farce, he has indeed forced the deep state out of the shadows, thus exposing who they really are, such as the Clintons, whose tin cup is said worthy of the Smithsonian as they hoovered, it says hoovered, not hovered, more than $2 billion in contributions to their campaigns, foundation, and philanthropies while selling the American people out for their own gain, which is true. They have sold us out. And that's why I am really glad that Trump is there to get America back. They're also burning up California. And it's not natural wildfires either. The Obamas, whose foul-mouthed tirades continue to shock people, and whose up-and-coming new leaders are best exemplified by Democratic Socialist wonderkind Ocasio-Cortez, who has just compared her election to landing on the moon and wiring America for electricity, leaving it no wonder why Trump's popularity has continued to rise in spite of everything that these globalist elites have thrown against him and against we the people, many of whom undoubtedly will be suicided like U.S. Navy Vice Admiral Stearney, as this is no longer a game, but war. Whoa, what happened? Let me get back to where I was. Here's Trump. Chaos rules, making enemies at every turn. That's only because this is how they feel about him. That's only because of the fact that they just want us to put up with the BS that they're giving us and want to continue to enslave us. But even worse, the agenda is to just genocide the people of America. Anyway, that is that for that report. Well, it's interesting that he was suicided. And here, let's see, where is it? I think this is the report on the death of him, that Navy Mill put out. This is their statement. Let's get that out of there. Their statement Chief of Navy Ops Admiral John Richardson released the following statement December 1st on the death of Vice Admiral Scott A. Stearney, who served as commander of U.S. Naval Forces Central Command of the U.S. Fifth Fleet. Let's see. If this works right, I can record this and I won't have to download. He says, Team, it's my sad duty to inform you that today the Secretary of the Navy, Richard V. Spencer, and I were told that Vice Admiral Scott Stearney, our commander of U.S. Naval Forces Central Command, U.S. Fifth Fleet, was found deceased in his residence in Bahrain today. This is devastating news for the Stearney family, for the team at Fifth Fleet, and for the entire U.S. Navy. Scott Stearney was a decorated naval warrior. He was a devoted husband and father, and he was a good friend to all of us. The Naval Criminal Investigative Service and the Bahraini Ministry of Interior are cooperating on the investigation, but at this time no foul play is suspected. Rear Admiral Paul Schließ, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, Deputy Commander of Fifth Fleet, has assumed command and is maintaining continuity in our responsibilities and posture in the United States Fifth Fleet. I ask that you keep the Stearney family in your prayers and respect their privacy as they navigate through these very difficult times. We will keep you informed as we learn more. Thank you very much. So that's what they're saying. And this is what Stearney has done, a deep state operative in the Navy. At least 206 civilians were killed in November. I already read this, I think. No, I didn't. At least 206 civilians were killed in November this year by U.S.-led airstrikes on areas controlled by the Islamic State in eastern Syria, a war monitor reported Saturday. As many as 77 children and 57 women were among those killed by the strikes on the last IS-held pocket in the eastern country of Deir al-Zour province, said the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights. The U.S.-led coalition has intensified its airstrikes in recent weeks in support of the Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces, SDF, which is pushing to dislodge IS from its last stronghold on the eastern bank of Euphrates River. The SDF has been trying to defeat IS in that part of the country near the Iraqi border since September 10th. However, the IS counteroffensives and suicide bombing have rendered all efforts flat, as the SDF are preparing for another round of battles against IS in eastern Deir al-Zour. The U.S.-backed SDF has also been trying to achieve progress on the political level. A day earlier, the Syrian Democratic Council, SDS, which is the political wing of the SDF, concluded a conference in the city of Ain Issa in northern Syria with the participation of opposition figures. The conference ended with a final statement that stressed the political solution is the right approach that guarantees the participation of all Syrians in the political process. The statement also noted that the formation of the Constitutional Committee should exclude any side in an apparent desire by the Kurdish forces to be represented in the constitutional committees that is being discussed currently. The conference also underlined the importance of a broad dialogue that would gather opposition and government representatives. The Kurdish forces have been enjoying a sort of autonomy in northeastern Syria since the early time of the Syrian war. The Syrian government has stressed that all Syrian areas should return under its control, in reference to the Kurdish-controlled areas, among others. The SDC has already held discussions with government representatives, and both sides agreed to form negotiation committees to continue dialogues. And this was report was on also December today, earlier today for them. So we have that. This is what Stearney did. He was trying to cause this war. And so he's been suicided. And because of that, it led to not only that and plus North Korea and plus Russia, with what's going on in Russia, led to, again, canceling the current dialogue that was supposed to happen with Putin and Trump. But they'll resume it later. They say here, Moscow to resume dialogue with U.S. as soon as Washington is prepared. This is what Lavrov says. And this is also dated today. And this is from Sputnik News. Earlier, President Vladimir Putin expressed disappointment over President Trump's decision to cancel their planned meeting at the G20 in Argentina, saying the two countries have much to talk about on issues including nuclear strategic stability in light of the U.S. talk of pulling out of the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty. Russia is ready for the normalization of dialogue with the U.S. as soon as its American colleagues are prepared to do so, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has said. U.S. National Security Advisor to the President John Bolton has approached Yuri Yushkov, assistant to the Russian president in foreign policy issues, and confirmed that the U.S. side would like to resume and normalize dialogue, Lavrov said in an interview with Russian television. Excuse my stuffy nose, I'm got a bit of a cold. We are ready for this as soon as our colleagues are, Lavrov noted. Asked whether he had met with his U.S. counterpart Mike Pompeo at the G20 summit, which wrapped up in Buenos Aires on Saturday, Lavrov said he did not. No, naturally, I did not chase after him. He did not approach me. To be honest, I don't even know if he was there or not, because I didn't see the entire U.S. delegation, Lavrov added. Okay, so, anyway, very interesting. So hopefully all of that stuff where the deep state is using our U.S. military to start the war, hopefully part of that is stopped with the suicide of Stearney, which has not been publicly, too publicly stated as a suicide. But anyway, that's the information for today on this article. I hope you enjoy it, and please leave your comments below, and if you enjoy this content, please subscribe to my channels and give it a like. Most of all, share it. Okie dokie. I'll also leave the links in the description so that you can read the articles yourself. Have a wonderful day.